Welcome to writing the equations of circles based on given information. Please copy all four of these questions down. We'll start with number 1. Write the equation of the circle whose center is at J, 0, 8, and whose area is 36 pi. So the first thing we want to do is we always know that we need to write the equation of a circle. You need the center and the radius. And currently we have the center, which is great, but we don't know the radius. So one of the things that we have to do is we have to actually use the area formula to find the radius of the circle. So we're going to write area equals pi r squared, and 36 pi equals pi r squared, and then divide by pi, r squared equals 36. Take the square root, and r is equal to 6. So from there, we are going to write the equation of the circle based on the fact that the center is 0, 8, and that the radius is equal to 6. So the equation I have written right here for you is the correct answer for the equation of that circle. Let's take a look at the next one, please. So in this scenario, it says write the equation of a circle whose center is -6, -3, and whose circumference is 18 pi. So again, we're going to need the equation of the circle, so we always need the center and the radius. We currently have the center as -6, -3, but we don't know the radius as of yet. So we're going to use the circumference formula to find the diameter and then cut it in half for the radius. So the circumference formula is pi times diameter, which is 18 pi equals pi times diameter. The diameter is 18, and the radius is in fact 9. Then we go into our regular formula from before, and this is the final answer for the circle. Now, keep in mind that the radius was 9, so when I squared it, I wound up with 81. So it's important that you find the diameter, which we found here. We cut it in half to get the radius, which was 9, and then in the formula I square it, and that gives me equal to 81. Please don't leave it as minus, minus. Again, here, minus, -3 or minus, -6. You should rewrite that as an x plus 6. Always make sure you have parentheses and that they are squared. So parentheses and that they're squared. Okay, let's take a look at the next one, a little more difficult. So it says write the equation of the given circle with the center is -4, -3, and passes through the point 2, 2. So guess what we need to write the equation of a circle? We need the center and the radius, which we happen to know the center already is -4, -3, but we don't know the radius. So think about how we can find the radius. If we know that it goes through the coordinate 2, 2, and it's centered at -4, -3, we could actually use the distance formula. So we're going to use the distance formula between these 2 points to figure out the length of the radius. So when I plug it into the distance formula correctly, you wind up with the square root of 61. And again, it's x1 minus x2 squared plus y1 minus y2 squared, and then the square root of that. Now, as far as the radius goes, the radius is the square root of 61. So when I plug it into the formula, it looks a little weird, but here, especially, right here, the square root of 61 squared makes the radical go away and makes the squared go away, and we're just left with a plain 61. Also notice, please, that we do not leave it as minus, minus. It needs to become plus. We don't leave it as minus, minus, and it becomes plus. Okay, and then the last slide, and we're finished here. So this one is probably the most difficult, but probably the most common on the Regents. And it says, write the equation of the circle whose endpoints of the diameter are 7, 5, and -1, -1. So think about that for a second. If we were to have a diameter of a circle, so here's my circle and here's the diameter, the endpoints of the diameter, then clearly the midpoint of those endpoints would actually be equal to the center of the circle, and the distance between the midpoint or the center and one of those endpoints is going to be the radius. So we're going to do a couple of things here. We are going to find the center and the radius. In this case, we don't know what either of them are, so we're going to have to do a little fancy footwork. So if given the endpoints of the diameter, you must use the midpoint formula to figure out the center. So the midpoint is x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2, and we wind up with the midpoint as 3, 2. Then we're going to use that center point, which is 3, 2 and 7, 5, and we're going to find the length of the radius. So it winds up to be rad 25, or a plain old 5. Please copy that. And then, to write the equation of the circle, we are now going to use the new information that we just found, which is the fact that the center is 3, 2. We found that from the midpoint formula. And the radius is 5. We found that from the distance formula. And we go into the equation. So here's my final answer. X minus 3 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 25. Thanks, and I'll see you tomorrow.